How's it going?
Hey, we're back with Mr. Robot. God knows what he's got in store for me tonight. I'm looking at the pictures and I'm like, okay, this is mega creep factor. So thank you, Mr. Robot. Hi, everybody. I'm Liz Cross from psychiclizcross.com, and we're going to do some probes, I assume. What do you have in store for us?
Yeah, so as if I didn't talk about the other side already, enough, I kind of want to do probe on ghosts and dying.
Oh, Lord.
So
Okay.
so there's a channel on YouTube. His channel is Shaman Oaks, and he has a lot of near death, or I guess that's what it's called. Or I don't know if it's sometimes called OBE, and outer body experience mixed with like a traumatic event usually. And I've listened to all of them and as many as I can find, and they're so intriguing. And a lot of people recall this tunnel of light, and thought it'd be a cool spot to start. So someone that comes to mind is Seth. Can you pull Seth in?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Perfect.
Yes. What would you like to know?
And just a little preface, Seth is from Seth Speaks. You guys can Google him. He is an inanimate consciousness that has channeled many books through, I think, Gene Roberts. So here's Seth. Seth has had a lot of incarnations. Can you ask Seth if he was alive, just as a little aside, was he alive like back in the pyramid times?
Were you alive back in the pyramid times? I feel like he came after the pyramids.
Interesting.
As a human. As a human, he's saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Before that, he was like various animals, insects, trees, grass, aquatic life, birds, things like that. He didn't come into the earth plane as a human until after the pyramids.
Can you ask him if that's the natural progression, is to come in as, smaller things and actually work your way up to a human?
Yes, that is. Yes.
So I think is what religion do they practice in India? Is that Buddhism?
Is that the Buddhist philosophy? Is that the closest? It's probably the closest to what actually goes on.
Okay. And then a quick little endeavor down Buddhism. Can you ask him if Buddha is still in spirit, or if he achieved nirvana, which would be him assimilating into source?
Did Buddha achieve nirvana? He's still in spirit.
Okay. And ask him why.
Because he's more useful in spirit to empower and protect us than achieving nirvana status.
Okay. And I have someone who keeps asking me a million questions to ask you about Buddhism. Let's just do one more. Basically, can we achieve nirvana? Is that a possibility for human souls?
Yes, but it takes about 5,000 lifetimes.
Okay.
If not more.
And has Seth accomplished over 1,000 lifetimes?
Have you accomplished over 1,000 lifetimes? No, approximately 700.
Yeah, he's had a lot. And has some cool stuff that we can pull in for this. But let's ask Seth about this tunnel of light experience. I want to probe the moment that So like your body starts dying, but I think your soul's kind of in your body for a while. Let's probe the moment your soul starts leaving your body. Can you ask Seth what happens at that moment?
What happens when your soul starts leaving? Well, that's a good question. It tears away from the body, and it's almost like a strong gravitational force, right? It's just pulling you. This force is pulling you. There's nothing you can do to stop it. You have to go. And you go down the tunnel, or you go up into the tunnel, and you do see a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's spirit world.
And there's at least one person I could think of that had a near-death experience, and he experienced like a hell-like scenario with demons and stuff. Can you ask Seth if that was real, if it was actually, in general, could someone see a hell-like experience right after dying?
Yes, okay, I get this, right? So that person was supposed to experience that hell-like realm. And the reason was so that when they came back, they would then swap their life around, because their life was very, very bad. They did a lot of bad things to a lot of people. And so that caused them to turn their life completely around. In general, when souls cross over, do they go into this? No, they always go to the spirit world, always.
Okay.
Is there a hell? I don't see a hell.
And it's interesting we got to this point because some theories basically would state that what you see in very, very particular a near-death experience is different than an actual dying experience. Can you ask Seth if that's valid?
Is that valid? Yes.
So, because these near-death people, they say they basically fly around and they like see, maybe some family members or something, and the question is if that is like still close to the third dimension, or if you are, already way out there.
Is that experience close to no, you are going into spirit, but again, that is to transform the consciousness. So you're coming back and your consciousness has been absolutely transformed.
And a lot of these people recall a moment while they were basically dead where they do what's called a life review, where they see all the different scenarios that played out because of the actions that they did. Is that true?
Is it true that they do a life review? Yes, but the life review is really focused on how you made people feel.
Yeah, exactly. So what I think about is like, so this is my question is, let's just say there's a moment where I made someone feel really bad.
Mm-hmm.
In the life review, it's my belief that I would actually experience that person's reaction to me, and I would feel that hurt. In other words, is that something that might happen?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that is derived from just reading a lot of Seth material, but I don't know. I can't recall if that's I read a lot of this afterlife stuff. Let's see. So, another question is, as soon as we're approaching this light and we're leaving our body, does it become, do we like remember it? Like, oh, here it is. This is that thing that I always remember because I've died so many times. Do our memories come back like at that point?
No, our memories come back long after the life review, right?
Okay.
So you get there, you see your loved ones, you have your life review with your loved ones there with
Yeah.
you, supporting you. And then you get an approval to have your memories come back. And you discuss what you did not achieve in that lifetime, right?
Mm-hmm.
You discuss the problems. You discuss with the, you know, with the person that designs the life with you.
Oh, cool.
So you discuss like, well, you know, I failed at this, I failed at that. And once you acknowledge and go over like what you have to do and what you have to learn and where you failed and where you want to do better, you then get your memories given back to you. And you go through like a classroom, almost like a learning process.
Yeah.
And once you have gone through that learning process, see, life seems so long here,
Mm-hmm.
but it's almost like it's in a blink of an eye up there, you know, because it seems like it happens so fast. It's like, oh, okay, well, we're back down again. So
Right, exactly.
what seems like an eternity here for us on earth is nothing up there.
So something interesting Seth mentioned in one of his books is that while he was having a normal incarnation, a normal life, while he was asleep, he was actually teaching or mentoring other spirit souls. Can you ask him if that happens to a lot of people and they don't know about it?
No, that doesn't happen to a lot of people and they don't know about it. Now, it's funny you should say that because when I first started channeling Seth, I got that he was always a teacher in every lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Is Seth glad that we're talking to him or was he busy?
Very glad. He says, I always have time for you.
Ask him if he was busy before. What was he doing before we contacted him today?
Contacted you today. He's doing his learning.
Okay, and who's teaching him?
Who's teaching? That's a great question. Who's teaching him? Angelic teachers.
And okay, another question for once we pass. Once we're starting to experience our life review and stuff, are we experiencing, do we have like an astral body and we're seeing our loved ones as kind of like physical forms almost?
No, we recognize them through energy. So we see them as energy.
But do we see, because see, what's really interesting about our perception of reality is that it's based through our senses, which is just our eyeballs and our skin. So is it similar to our experience as having eyes? Are we processing an image? Do we see things?
Oh, that's a good question. Do we process things as an image? No, it's like an all-knowing. So how do we see without eyes? You don't have to see up there. I don't get that.
But yeah, so ask them about when they want to experience something, like maybe view or talk to you. Are they experiencing it through the way a human would, where he sees you, or is it the way he's normally experiencing stuff in spirit?
That's a good question, because when I see them, right? They're in hologram human form.
Yeah.
Okay. So I see the eyes, I see the hair, the nose, the face, the body. What is interesting is he actually has my mother, who is in spirit, standing with him. Because I'm like, well, if you're learning, what's my mom doing all day? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally.
They can't see, like, they don't see us through eyes. They see us almost like through a third eye, right? Like through the crown or the third eye. That's the best way they can explain it.
Yeah.
And they're communicating. That's how they see us. Do you see color? I don't feel like they see color. Then how do you know how to? Because when they come through, they project color, right? So I'll say, oh, here's your grandmother standing here in a red dress.
Okay.
Oh, well, that was her favorite red dress. Do you know what I mean? So how is it that if you can't see color, that you project color to me? And that's just part of the all-knowing.
What's he saying?
And I'm saying, but are you more powerful as a spirit than me as a human? And I'm getting a no.
So this can actually be a little interesting bit about the nature of reality. Can you ask him if he's actually there where you're seeing him, or if he's just projecting into your third eye as being there, like the way reality is projected into our third eye?
Oh, are you actually standing here with me? No, projecting in. But that's kind of strange to me because he's projecting in, but I know that, oftentimes when I do readings, right? And I do a lot of readings, psychiclizcross.com, if you want to know where to get a reading and book a reading. And they hang around my home afterwards.
Yeah.
So part of them must be in the home. Yes. So it's almost like they leave a residual energy, soul energy behind in the home, because I've said before, they've been banging my pots and pans, knocking on doors, shouting my kids' names. I mean, it's not good.
Oh, so here's a question. When he channeled through Jane Roberts, there's video footage of her. Can you ask him if he was actually looking through her eyes as he operated her body?
Did you operate? She did trance mediumship. Okay. I don't do trance. He's like, let me step in and I'll show you. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't do trance. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. That'd be amazing.
No, it wouldn't. It might be for you guys, but not for me. I've had that before. I've let a spirit step into my shoes and I felt very, very uncomfortable. That's also a good way to get black magic attachments. So you don't want to do that. I advise against that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, everybody has their own choices and decisions that they can make, and that's up to them. But I would not be doing anybody any service or any justice if I say, oh, yeah, you should do that. It's very safe. And, no, it's not safe, right? You never, ever let somebody take control.
I'm always trying to let spirits talk through me.
No, don't do that.
Well, certain ones that are good.
No, I would not allow that at all. They can talk to me. They cannot talk through me. Okay. That's dangerous, especially if you're not trained.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, that's exactly who I'm talking to. That Saratoga.
Oh. I don't know what that is.
So that's what he kind of looks like, though.
Interesting. I think that's like a weird picture of Jane, because here's kind of
that's crazy to me too, because he sort of looks like that, like the same sort of short hair, very sort of angelic, very light features. Mm-hmm. That's similar to what he looks like. I wonder if she was actually channeling herself in a former life. And he says no.
So in the book, he is very wordy, but he seemed to allude that they were fractional parts of each other.
Okay. That's true.
It's true.
Whatever that's supposed to mean.
Yeah, that's the depth of the Seth books, when his books are kind of about, I guess you could summarize it as that, everything's connected and everything is kind of one, right? But okay. Can you ask Seth? Everyone hates when I say can you ask? Everyone's
No,
like,
they don't.
stop
They
saying
like
that.
it.
Hard habit to break. But what's Seth's opinion on some different things like that happen like this? There's this phenomenon where you might walk in a dark, chilly room and you feel some weird presence, and then you notice you have scratches when you look in the mirror. What is up with the ghost scratches that people receive? What is his opinion on that?
The ghost scratches that people receive. They're accurate. They're true. Why did they do that? To confirm that they were there.
And when an entity non-physically scratches you, is that a sign that is not a positive being and rather like something along the lines of being demonic or evil?
Yes, that's correct. It's dark. The white light would never do that to you.
Yeah, I've definitely had some ghost scratches. I hate those things. They're really creepy. Yeah, I've experienced some interesting ghost moments, and I'm actually wondering if Seth can pinpoint a ghost. It's it's hard for me to realize that you're channeling Seth right now, because I assume I'm just talking to you, but Seth can hear me too, right?
Yes, but I like the way you ask the questions, because it shows that you have a very high level of respect for him.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so I'm assuming in non-physical, Seth can kind of see backwards in time a little bit. First of all, can you confirm if that's true?
Can you see backwards in time? Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so one night, me and one of my ex-girlfriends were leaving my house, and it was dark. It was nighttime, and I felt like a hand go through my hair, like kind of touching my scalp, and there was nothing around me. And I turn around, I look at my girlfriend, and I was like, something just did something to my head. And she looked at me and she said, was it this? And she like rubbed her hands through my hair the same way that I just experienced it. And I was like a cartoon. All of my hair was just shot straight up, because I was so creeped out that she I don't know, we were probing this a second ago. She obviously could see it. She can see spirits apparently. But can Seth see this moment from his perspective?
Yes.
What was that? Was that a ghost?
Yes, it was a spirit.
And why did they do that?
To show you that they're alive and that they're around.
Was it like a scary, like do ghosts have the intention of scaring you, or is it just they trying to connect?
Not the white light ones, they don't. But they always want to connect. Like I get poked on the shoulder and my hair
Yeah.
gets pulled and my clothes get tugged, right? But
Right.
You have to remember, and I don't know if you do, around that time, you were like, I just want to connect. I just want to connect. Right? Well,
I don't know. At that time of my life, I was actually desperately trying not to connect, because I had so many interactions with ghosts. Because my girlfriend like could see them apparently, and that made them just run like wildfire through our house, and a lot of scary stuff, like pennies just being, thrown around in the dark
Oh
room.
yeah. I don't know why they like to do that. Yeah,
So
that's
scary.
what that happened to me. Yeah. I was at a, oh my God, it is crazy. Like I'll never forget this. I was in England and I was in Birmingham, which is for those of you who don't know England, it's like the Midlands. And I was in a neighbor's house and we were just sitting there having a cup of tea. And suddenly, like hundreds of pennies just fell from behind this cabinet that was
Yeah.
screwed onto the wall. Like it was just a little china cabinet, small, and it was screwed onto the wall. And hundreds of pennies and coins just were dropping. It
It's like
was weird. I've got chills.
Yeah, they try to find the most like loud and
Yeah.
weird thing to mess with, it seems like. What does Seth think about that, where a non-physical entity actually makes something move in our reality? Is that hard for them to do?
Making something move in our reality hard for you to do. No, it's very easy.
Okay, I'm sticking out my hand. See if you can give me a high five.
Okay, he did.
I might have felt some wind blow by, but I definitely did not feel a slap.
Why didn't he feel? Well, he says that's because I don't have a body.
Well, Seth, by the way, Seth is actually also somewhat of a comedian, so.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I'm trying to have him interact like the way a ghost would push a penny,
Yeah, he doesn't want to do that.
Okay.
But that is weird. And the neighbor, she actually would read tea leaves, right? So, that's an old phenomena, especially in the UK. You finish your cup of tea and you'll have a few, little tea leaves left in the bottom of the cup. And you sort of turn it round 3 times on the saucer, and then you flip it back up and you look at the image in the teacup. And I'll never forget, it was this very distinct image of a bird. And next thing you know, all these coins fell down. It was crazy.
So ask Seth if basically ghosts are kind of lingering around us, waiting for opportunities like that. Are they always around us,
Let's ask this. Are ghosts spirits? Yes. And are they stuck here on the earth plane? Sometimes they do get stuck here on the earth plane. Why? Because it's easier to exist on the earth plane than it is in the spirit world. And I'm saying, but the spirit world is so loving and joyful and all-knowing, but they have these attachments to the earth plane.
So does Seth think that these people, after a while, could they free themselves from the earth plane if they wanted to, or are they stuck?
Are they stuck? Yes, partially stuck. They don't want to free themselves.
But they could if they kind of came to that awakening or that understanding that they could.
That they can free themselves if they came to that awakening? Yes. They need to process some more life lessons here on the earth plane, and then they'll be able to graduate.
Would that require them to reincarnate?
Would that require them to reincarnate? Yes. Maybe they don't want to reincarnate. Do they not want to reincarnate? No, see, there you go. They don't want to go up to the spirit world because they don't want to reincarnate ever again.
So we have control of whether or not, we stick around, or do we have to always go up into, the spirit realm?
Do we have control whether or not we want to stick around? No, most of the time we don't have control, but there are some defiant spirits that find a portal back down.
Mm-hmm.
There are secret portals that will allow them to come back down. But once they go through the door to that portal, that door closes, right? That's how they get stuck here. But they go through the portal because there's already talk of reincarnation and they don't want to come back.
Are they aware that portal will close behind them?
Yeah, sometimes, but then they feel so free. They believe they're in control, but they're not.
And is it source that's in control?
Is it source that's in control? Yes. And that's a life lesson too, being stuck on the earth plane in ghost form, right?
Yeah, but who knows
Because
how long that would take to get
yeah,
out.
then your quest becomes, how do I get back up there?
Yeah. So what would a ghost have to do besides reincarnate to get back up there?
It would have to find a portal to go back up, right? Because, really the only chance we get to go into the spirit world is through that tunnel of light, that tunnel with the light at the end. If we start taking it upon ourselves to just come down, find the nearest exit in the spirit world, come down, the door closes behind us, well, we don't experience death again, do we? So what he's telling me is that they end up getting stuck. And it's very hard to cross the spirit back over.
So 2 questions. One of them is back to my ex-girlfriend. I'm wondering if Seth can peer into the past. One night she was in her bed and she actually saw a portal open up in her room and she tried to go through it. Can you ask Seth if that was a real event? Like, did a portal actually open up in there?
Yes, but it was a portal to the dark.
Yeah, that's interesting.
This stuff is not a toy. Okay.
Because I'm wondering who makes these portals. Are these, because if there's some in the like light side, then you would think, up in the white area of the spirit realm, then maybe they're like, source made them just to give you the option.
So source controls the portals,
Mhm.
right? For the white light. But then the dark have their own portals and they try to lure people in all the time. This, I'm telling you guys, I get so many comments of, oh, wow, being a psychic medium, it's not a toy. It's not a game. It comes with a lot of responsibilities. Guys, wake up. Don't play around with this stuff. It's dangerous.
Yeah, well, I mean, she just saw a portal open up, so she
Yes.
doesn't have any concept of like light or dark. But um, interesting. I forgot what I was gonna say. Huh. Okay, so that brings me to the shadow people. There's many books, all kinds of stuff, probably a million videos on YouTube about shadow people. Can you ask Seth if that is just how sometimes we might see a ghost, or is that a different type of entity, shadow people?
They're ghosts. They're not a different type of entity. It's just the way that we see them.
Yeah, I definitely saw one once myself, so I know it. That's why I picked this photo because the room was pitch black, but the silhouette was darker than the night. You know, hard to explain, but that's
Okay. Let me ask you this. And I keep going back to these superhero movies. Like when there's like an invisible man or whatever, and you're watching the movie, but we know that the invisible man is there because
yeah,
pixels on the screen are moving in the shape of the body, but they
right.
can't, you know what I mean? Sometimes they can see, sometimes they can't see.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, isn't it? Because that's what you see. You know what I mean? That's what you see with regards to spirits. Sometimes I have seen that in real life. And that's what I feel like sometimes the shadow people are. The shadows. Mm-hmm.
And so let's ask Seth, has he ever been walking around Earth in spirit form and been seen by someone?
Loads of times.
And what did the people see usually? Did they usually see like a white blur on a piece of, on a picture, or did they see a shadow?
People normally see a white blur. They see a shadow.
Yeah, so pretty much everyone can give the consensus that a moving shadow is pretty creepy. So tell Seth that he creeps some people out.
Sometimes that people find that creepy. He thinks that's funny. So, everybody knows, or certainly those that have been listening to me for a long time, of my police dispatch days, and we had CCTV all over the place. And if you pointed the camera down this certain path in the park, you could always see like this ghost walking through this park.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in like military uniform.
Wow.
Yeah, like from way back when. Yeah, and it was always the same time. It was always just after midnight.
Wow.
And you could see that they were doing like the military march. And you could see that, he would turn just like in the military, you turn, you lift your leg up and you turn. It's, there's a very distinctive way. We used to watch him all the time.
So can you have Seth confirm that that was a ghost?
Yes, that was.
I know you're psychic and stuff, but I just wanted to see what he says.
Well, I mean, I'm psychic, but I channel, It's not information that's generated from inside of me. It's information that's generated to me.
Right. Probably a million different ghosts and creepy things we could talk about. But one thing in particular is the idea of a succubus. So people
Never heard of that.
So like let me write it like this. So
I've had that happen to me before.
Yeah, so this is actually the famous picture. I wonder who did this. Oh, it's Henry Fuseli. I don't know who that is. But probably like in this realm of talking, this is like one of the most famous pictures. Can you ask Seth if, I don't know, if ghosts will paralyze you when you're asleep and make you have fear issues, like, create fear?
You do get fearful because you then get scared to go back to sleep ever.
But
I've had
they hang out on you?
Yeah, I've had sleep paralysis many, many times.
Mm-hmm, me too.
What is sleep paralysis? Sleep paralysis is actually the moment right before the consciousness leaves the body. So that's interesting to me because I've never understood what sleep paralysis is. If you know how to have an outer body experience or
Yeah.
travel, okay, that paralysis sets in because it's like your body is dead, right?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can't move. And your consciousness is about to leave your body and go traveling. But you know what? Instead of leaving the body, you wake up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, why am I completely frozen and I can't move? This is so weird. And now I'm scared to go back to sleep. Is this because I'm about to die?
So
it's weird, isn't it?
I experienced a very, very intense version of this. Maybe Seth can see it in his perspective.
You've had this several times.
Yeah, most notably though, once upon a time, it was before a college class. I woke up maybe about 11 a.m. and I woke up and I looked to my foot of my bed and I could swear, I mean, I basically did. I saw like footprints coming in towards me on the blankets.
Mm-hmm.
But that was sleep paralysis. So I'm wondering, was that my consciousness like walking in and about to jump into my body, or was I experiencing seeing a spirit?
Was that a spirit? No, that was you. That was your soul walking back into your body.
That is insane.
I know. Tell me about it. I've had an outer body experience. I don't like them. I don't know why anybody, to me, I don't like them. They make me feel very uncomfortable. I know people find them fascinating. I wasn't comfortable with it. I like to be in control at all times, right? That's just how I roll. And
Yeah.
that was your soul coming back in. So again, with that sleep paralysis, you have to remember our consciousness, our conscious mind is very separate from the subconscious, is very separate to the soul. So your soul had
Right.
gone on a walkabout, right?
Exactly.
But your conscious mind had woken up.
Yeah, it was like probably the worst thing I've ever experienced.
It's scary.
Because I thought I was being like murdered, by like a invisible person. It was really weird.
Oh God.
But yeah, so I really want to talk about on that note of astral projection because you totally nailed it. When you are practicing astral projection, you experience the paralysis, which is the same thing that happens when you go to sleep every night. And what I want to ask Seth is at that moment, if you can stay conscious through this point of time where most people fall asleep, if you just stay alert, you actually experience intense vibrations. Can you assess what are those intense vibrations?
It's the frequency changing in your body to accommodate the astral projection.
But is that our astral body starting to detach, that sensation, the vibrations?
No, at that point, it's already detached.
Because at that point, almost everyone who's trying to learn how to do this still can't get out of the body. They just experience a really high pitched sound, first of all. Oh, what is that high pitched sound, by the way? Maybe Seth might know. Really high pitched, like a ringing bells, really loud.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew I could hear it. What is that? Because when you're leaving the body, the bells, how like people say when they've had those near death experiences, they say, "Oh, I could hear the trumpets playing," or that's what they're hearing.
Yeah.
Right? I heard the bells. I heard the tone. I heard the call. That's what they're hearing. God, astral projection, again, let me just say it. It's not a toy.
So on that note, though, of understanding it's not a toy, does Seth think that there's any progress we can make on our soul path in the astral realm? Like if we learned how to do astral projection the correct way?
If we learn how to do astral, and by the way, if you want to know about astral projection, I did an excellent interview with Graham Nichols a couple of years ago. He's like the master of astral projection. Unfortunately, we can't find that video, but it was excellent.
I saw it. Oh,
Did you?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Where he astrally projected into the future, which I found that fascinating. He ended up standing outside the Admiral Duncan pub 6 weeks into the future, and the bomb went off, and he saw the person who set the bomb run right past him.
Oh, wow.
Didn't think anything about it, went back into his body, and then 6 weeks later, where there were the Soho is like the gay area of London, right? So it was a homophobic attack on this gay bar, which is the Admiral Duncan pub in London off, I think it's Carnaby Street, just behind like Regent Street and all that. And it actually happened. And then they show images of the shooter running away from the scene. And that just gave him the heebie-jeebies. Sorry, what? So if we do astral projection correctly,
can we gain any knowledge or insight?
No.
Or why can we astral project as humans? Why can we do it?
Why can we do it?
Yeah.
Because Why can't we do it? He's trying to explain to me it has to do with the consciousness and the brain waves and the intention. I mean, there's a lot to it, right? I've never studied astral projection, so I'm just answering how he's telling me. I mean, that's what I
But
do anyway.
is it like our right to be able to, or is it just something that we like found the back door into the spirit realm and we like can, it feels
Well,
to me like a back door to like a computer program.
it is a back door, but we're not supposed to experiment with this at all.
Okay.
It's not good. It's dangerous.
So everyone that preaches about astral projection talks about this line of light from your soul to your body, that it's a cord and it can't be cut as you travel the universe. Can you ask Seth if that's true?
Sometimes it's an energetic strand, but that doesn't happen to everybody. No.
But can we be detached from our body on accident by doing astral projection, or is that not likely? Like forever?
From our body accidentally. Yes, it could take a long time to come back.
Yeah. Like your astral body can be lost in space, basically.
Yes. And then your astral body is your soul.
Okay, and here's another thing that people want to know. When you are, because first of all, let's verify, this is basically what happens every night when you go to sleep, right? Yeah, Seth.
Is this happening every night when we go to sleep? No.
Wow, that's crazy.
Why?
I don't know. I thought from his books and everything that basically as soon as you're asleep, or at least at one part in your sleep, your whatever you want to call it, your soul is doing something else. It's doing something completely unrelated to Earth.
This is soul doing something else completely unrelated to Earth. It is making connections, but most of the time the soul will stay inside the body. It's the consciousness that can travel.
Ah, okay. So that's the differentiation that we wanted to find. So, okay, let's just say the soul stays in the body. At some point every night, does at least, for the most part, does your consciousness leave your body while you're asleep at some point, usually?
At some point every night, does your consciousness leave your body? Not always, no.
But when you do leave your body, so from Seth's books, basically there's a whole lot of stuff that happens and you usually don't remember it. So is that happening? We're kind of just fact checking him. When we don't remember what happens and our consciousness leaves our body, is that because our soul or our consciousness is not allowed to bring that information back to this reality?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Interesting. Because it's usually has to do with, your spiritual role in the universe. Like, for instance, Seth teaching someone while he was asleep. Can you ask him if I do anything similar to that while I am asleep?
Yes, you do.
Like what?
Your consciousness is all over the place when you go to sleep. Right? It's funny because I keep having this recurring dream, and I've talked about this before, and it's like, it's so strange. I own this flat in East London. First of all, I think I've only ever been out to East London, like the depths of East London, maybe once or twice in my entire life, because it's just not a very desirable area. But I own this flat there, and it's upstairs, and it has multiple levels, and I always take the bus to the flat, and I get off the bus and I go in the door, And sometimes there's all these souls in there, or people in there that I've known, and oh my God, it's so great to see you. Sometimes they've all been there and they've gone and the flat is a wreck, and I'm there cleaning it up all night. A lot of times my mom is there sitting there waiting to talk to me. And outside of that flat is like very dangerous, right? It's a criminal hotbed of criminal activity. And but I keep going back to this flat over and over and over again. And sometimes I'll see friends that pass doing the dishes, or hey, we just stopped by, we thought we'd help you clean up. It's really strange. And I think that's when my consciousness leaves. And I keep going back to this flat. And then when I wake up, it's so familiar to me. And then it takes me a few minutes to orientate myself. And then I'm just like, oh, I was at that place again. I don't, I don't know if you've had those experiences. They're not the same as a visitation. And a visitation is very vivid, where a loved one in spirit comes to you and talks to you and gives you like messages that you need to hear, right? That's a visitation. This is kind of like a visitation, but in this flat. It's like this designated meeting point. It's nothing fancy. It's it's actually very much a mess. And I should probably figure out why it's always in a mess. Maybe.
Oops, are you still there? Let's see. I still have her here. Let's see.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Oh, now I hear you. Sorry.
See, and that keeps happening here. Like the other day, I was doing a video and the electrics blew. And then we did that thing and Google shut down. I've noticed that's happening more and more. So sorry. Yeah, it's really strange. So if you have those kinds of dreams where your consciousness and you're seeing these people in your sleep and you know them, right? They're, oh my God, you're my long lost pal. And then you wake up and you're like, who the hell was that?
Oh, well, here's the thing. So ask Seth if when you dream of somebody, and assumingly they're asleep as well, are you actually interacting with that individual, or is it just in your mind, like your own imagination?
Yes, you are actually interacting with that individual. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, so I was telling Liz before this video that basically someone I knew like 20 years ago was my wife, and I was just wondering, my current wife, and I was like, and then I Googled them, and they also do Reiki like me, so I thought it was interesting, something that Seth might comment on.
What was that about? It's just that the fact that you two have very similar interests. You're sort of meeting on this energetic astral level.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's going to be a no on the wife.
Dang it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, well, just talking about the other guy, he astral projected and saw the future. Some people dream about the future.
Yes.
And I'm kind of trying to turn this into a question of, how can we practice this and like learn how to see the future a bit so we can, prepare ourselves for things. I know one of you is going to say that, we shouldn't be prepared for certain things, but, you also do future self readings, and I'm just, how can we improve this information and get it more accurate?
Well, if you wanted to do it yourself, then I would suggest you take a remote viewing course and you do dream coordinates. So you have what's called a dream team. and you have a task manager who issues a blind target, a double blind target. You all get the double blind target, and you write down your coordinate on your piece of paper, and then you go to sleep.
Yeah.
And always over time, you all keep having the same dreams. You're all having the target in your dreams. A lot of times you end up meeting each other on the astral plane. So there are things that you can do to control your dreaming, right?
Yeah.
And remote viewing can do that.
Okay. And does Seth have tips on how to remote view when some people just can't? Should people give up if they can't really do it?
What if you can't remote view? Should you just give up? No, because there's many ways to remote view. So
Okay.
I get a lot of questions, and in fact, this came up this week on the Discord, which is attached to my Patreon, Remote Viewing and Beyond, which is, oh, I think Liz should do double blind targets, and that way, she should access the information that way. The only reason you do double blind targets is if you have problems connecting to the target. Because I'm a natural psychic medium, there's no problem in me connecting to the actual target whatsoever. So double blind coordinates are a waste of my time, because then I have to go into a long form remote view, and I'm doing perceptions and ideograms and sketching and, and forget it. I can do 30, 40, 50 pieces of information, future information and predictions without having to go in and do that long form remote view. Now, if your target is not double blind and your tasker actually knows what the target is, to a group of remote viewers that, typically most people have they have problems connecting to the target. And I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet, okay? That's just, the difference between me and regular remote viewers. And excuse me. And if you do it just blind, as in the remote viewer is blind, but the tasker is not blind to the target, then the remote viewer can actually attach to the signal line, which is formed because you get your information through energetic strands that is formed to the brain of the tasker. Now, I've actually done many experiments with that, and I've come back where I've known something about a target, and they have sketched directly what I have known, and it was not right. Okay, so I've done a lot of experimentation over the years with this, and that's why I don't do double blind targets. However, if you are doing remote viewing and you want to learn to be like an incredible remote viewer and have a dream team, even if your dream team is only 2 or 3 people, and your target is a set date in the future, right? And your tasker doesn't even know what the date is, and that, you pull out the coordinate on the bag, you issue the coordinate to the viewers. The tasker does not look at the paper until all results are in. And then you open up the paper and find out like the date of the target. And then you wait for that date and you try to match up the events with, what happened on that date.
So, but here's the interesting part about that is that assumes time is linear. And from Seth's point of view, he would say, all that's already known. So, maybe it doesn't matter at which point they look at it, but that's, something for Seth. But
time is linear for us in a human body.
Right.
For spirit, they can see everything. They know that, well, mostly everything. They can see mostly everything. So time doesn't seem linear because they're not bound by gravity. The only reason time is linear for us is because we're bound by gravity in a physical body, which is why remote viewing basically sends a suction cup up into the matrix saying, this is what I want to know about on this day, this time, and this event, right? That's all remote viewing does. It controls the flow of information.
But can you ask Seth if remote viewing is interacting through the spirit realm?
Is the remote viewing interacting with the spirit realm? Yes.
So yeah, okay. So something interesting that Seth mentioned in one of his books, he actually mentions kind of how to see the future. And he says what you should do is spend, a good portion of your time remembering every single little bit of your day as far back as many days as you can. And then as soon as you're really good at it, you'll be able to all of a sudden project forward and remember the future. Can you ask Seth if that's still true? Is that a valid thing he said?
Is that a valid thing? No, it's not quite like that. I think there was a problem with the interpretation of that. And that's okay, because that's a very difficult concept to explain across the universe, right? It's just to sharpen your perception. If your perception is really, really sharp, you can train your perception to know what's coming in the future. But you can also do that with remote viewing, right? I've had readings where people have come through to me just to send information through to their past self or their future self. And if you do that on a regular basis, you can become an expert at that. I don't know what that noise was.
Oh, my phone was just did like a ring.
Oh, okay. I was like, okay.
I'm singing.
Because that's not my kids. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, my phone was playing a video. But so just to confirm with Seth, can we not remember the future from our current point?
Can we not remember the future from our current point? No, because we haven't experienced the future.
But is there a future, or is everything? So that's the weird part, is the whole concept of his books is that there really isn't anything such as time at all anyways, and that it's actually all just nowness.
Yes, but he would say that because he's in spirit. He's thinking in spirit form and not human form.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So
you don't need to know the future in spirit. No, who cares? You know what I mean? You don't need money. You don't need a house. You don't need a car, right? You don't need a job. You don't need food. You don't have to pay the light bill or the water bill. Okay. It's irrelevant. You don't have a body. So I can see where he says you're living in the now. Yeah, he's living in the now. However, for the rest of us in a body here on planet Earth, we need to know the future, right? And we don't like not knowing the future because, especially the more experience we have on the Earth plane, we know that there can be some devastating events that change our lives in just a split second. So that's why we always are in hot pursuit of the future. You don't need to know the future if you're just in spirit.
Right. Well, so another question though is, would Seth say that where he is at right now is also equivalent to where we are at, or is our now also his now, or is he experiencing all time?
Oh,
that's that's that, like the future and the past, literally.
Is your now the same as our now? No, our now and his now, or spirit's now, are two totally different things.
Yeah.
We are blind to the past lives and our future lives. So in a way, yes, we are living in the now because consciously we're blind to those past lives and future lives. However, we have this, like I said, this desperation to know what is in the future, or at least a lot of us do. Whereas he has all of his past life memories. He knows what he's going to be in the future.
So like what I'm trying to get towards is basically if our current sense, like that we're in this moment right now, is this actually current with the universe, or are we, it's like if you were watching Back to the Future and you were in that high school and all of a sudden your future self popped up in front of you and you realize that your whole life is a lie and you're actually currently living in the past. From his point of view, is this moment for us current?
No.
Does it seem like we're in the past?
Does it seem like we're in the past? Yes. I don't understand that, but yes.
And instead of the word seem, can you ask him if we are in the past at this moment right here?
No, we're in the now.
Okay.
But he says we're in the past because he can see the future.
Yeah, exactly. When you can see the future, then any moment would lose its nowness because it's fluid.
Let me ask Seth this question. When I do future self readings and I move people into the future and get an overall feedback, sometimes the timeline can change because the universe makes a decision to alter that timeline. But it usually is an alteration that is on a mass scale. Okay?
Yeah.
And this is a question I've had. Unfortunately, when I started out doing these future self readings, people are like, okay, I need to know the price of Bitcoin on January 1st, 2022 at 5 p.m. And is it going to be higher or lower than 50,000? And what is the exact price it's going to be? Right? Now, that was when I first started out doing future self readings.
Right.
I've learned now that we don't do that, right? We just give a general overview.
Yeah, exactly.
But the universe, because there's this ongoing war, he's telling me, between light and dark, when we need a massive life lesson to shake things up, right? The universe can come down and decide to bend that timeline.
So on that note, we probed a lady once. Her name is Rosalind Solomon, and we got that she gets crypto information from Source. To better ourselves, but it seems like a lot of crypto predictions haven't done so great, like Shiba Inu. What does Seth think about people getting financial advice from the spirit realm?
It's bogus. It depends how you're getting it, right?
Yeah.
But if you're trying to channel Jesus and God and you think that's what you're getting, they're not concerned about financial,
right,
our financial existence. That's almost like bringing them down several notches. Okay.
Oh yeah.
They're concerned with enlightenment, love, ethics, integrity, things like that. That's why using the future self. So I'm not using spirit as a target. I'm actually using like you as a target.
Right.
And also, your blueprint is different to somebody else's blueprint. So just trying to get an overview of what you want. So, you constantly ask the question of like, which is going to do better, UFO or Starlink. And if I move you out,
Well, what does Seth think about that question?
what do you think about that? He's laughing. He's not answering that. If I move you out and you say which does better, that's a very subjective thing, which is what does better for you could be because you hold billions more of one coin than another coin. So even if it only goes up 2%, you've made more money than the other one.
Right.
So that's why the future self is actually getting information from the person that wants to know. And I'm not channeling like Jesus, God, angels, and all that for the information, because I really believe, now this is my personal opinion, and I'm sorry if it's insulting, but for me, I have so much respect for those figures that I wouldn't want to bring them down. I just don't want to disrespect them in that way. But those questions are definitely important questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could say, on the flip side, you could say, well, yeah, but Jesus, we have to have money to survive. And that's true too. So who knows what the correct answer should be to that?
Well, okay. One last question for Seth then. What does he think about when people see synchronicities, like when people experience like angel numbers?
It's just a reminder that there's something out there bigger than your brain and your conscious mind.
What would lead a person to start experiencing that more and more and more?
It's their soul trying to bring life lessons in. It's almost like a confirmation.
You there, Liz? Hey.
Sure.
Oh, lost you there for about 10 seconds.
I'm sorry about that. I can only apologize. I don't know. Sometimes the energy just gets so overwhelming, it just starts knocking everything out in the room. Excuse me. It's just a confirmation from the soul that there's something bigger than you.
So it's always usually from the soul.
Yes, your soul guides you to look at it at the time, or to guide you to look at the numbers at a particular time.
And so I have this really awesome book about synchronicity. Let me see if I can find it real quick in case anyone's interested.
Well, synchronicity is basically, when you're combining your energy strand with somebody else. So you haven't heard from somebody in a long time. You think about them, and then suddenly they call you. Well, you're picking up on their intention to call you. You're picking up on their energy. Their energy is connecting to you. It's sending you a signal that, hey, I'm going to call you. Now, you have to go back in past lives. And for those of you that are new, I can do past lives, right? I do the CTT, which is the consciousness transformation technique. Thinking back in past lives, when we didn't have telephones and, mobile phones and all of that, that's how we would communicate. We would have to send like a signal, a conscious intention signal to the other person. And we communicated that way.
We developed it by telekinesis. Is that what that is? Or
yes,
something? Okay, so on that note, does Seth think that we can, move things with our mind, telekinesis? Can we, move something up, pick up something like maybe a light feather?
Yes, absolutely.
Is that hard to figure out how to do?
I already know how to do that, but no, it is, it can be. You have to go with what works for you.
And what about pyrokinesis? Can people maybe,
Man.
start a small fire?
Can people start a small fire? No, not generally. They can't. Most of the time, it's just very light objects.
Because there's these master qigong like Asian practitioners, and they'll like hold a wet paper towel, and all of a sudden it starts steaming, or they'll hold like a ball of like shredded paper, and it'll start smoking. Does Seth think there's any validity to those two things?
Yes, I know how they're doing that. Yes.
They're like channeling their chi, right?
I would have thought it was more white light.
Okay, yeah, let's ask Seth. Would our easiest way to move things, would it be through moving our own energy, or would it be through harnessing source?
You have to harness source.
Interesting. So I could say, please source, pick up that cup and bring it to me.
No. Have you ever tried to bend spoons before?
I have desperately tried. So
And you didn't succeed?
no, and I channel energy, and I'll put energy in the spoon, and I don't know how to do it.
It takes me about half a second to bend a spoon.
Yeah, I want a picture of that or something. We should do a little
demonstration.
Yeah.
I was at that remote viewing conference in New Orleans, and I was like the first person to bend the spoon out of over 100 people.
Yeah. Okay. Give us a little, like a 3-sentence. How would you bend a spoon?
You take the spoon and you hold it in front of your eyes, and then you think of the most greatest force on earth, and you shoot that into a part of the spoon, and then something just clicks in your brain, and you know when to bend it.
And then you bend it physically, though?
Yes, but you can feel like it melts. The spoon melts, like if you feel a shift like that in your brain, and then bang, you can bend it. Like very easily. You just, you just bend it.
And then can we have Seth confirm that that's accurate?
Is that accurate? Yes, very.
Okay, and one question for Seth. Does he think that we have to have psychic abilities to be able to do that?
We have to have psychic abilities to be able to do that. No, anybody can do that if they concentrate enough.
Cool.
According to Seth.
Well, I know what I'm doing for the rest of the evening.
Oh, God. You know what? I don't know what happens in our household, but we always have a shortage of spoons, right? I don't know why, but we just do. We buy spoons all the time. And my son will say, "It's mommy. She's bending all the spoons again."
Oh, that's funny.
But I don't know where the spoons go. I have no idea. They just disappear. So maybe spirit comes by and takes my spoons, and they're bending them in the ether. Who knows?
They're going to the Matrix.
With my spoons. It's weird. I don't know. That's always a big thing in my house. It's like, where are all the spoons? It's weird. I don't know.
Does Seth think that crystals, like certain crystals, can help people energetically in any certain way that we assume they do?
They're not as powerful as we think that they are.
And one last question for Seth will be, what should all the listeners look into or research into, like, in general? What is his opinion?
Whatever they like.
He doesn't have any recommendations for anything, like, from his personality?
No, because different people take to different things. So it's what they gel with on a vibrational level.
But does he think that we should be spending our time trying to, ascend should we, because I feel like a lot of people aren't trying to ascend. So like, does he feel like that's something that humans should be trying to do?
Absolutely. That's why we're here.
Okay. Excellent. I think that's a great spot to end it.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for one last question for Seth.
I know I said it like 5 times.
That's so cool. I like the way you asked the questions. Well, this was another interesting one. Thank you.
How about if you have a question for Seth for the audience?
I can't think of anything. My brain is actually fried. I don't know. I can't think of anything. Sorry. But if anybody does have any questions for Seth Speaks, right?
Yeah.
You can put those on the Patreon. You can put those on the Discord. The Patreon is Patreon.com/remote viewing and beyond. You can go to my website, psychiclizcross.com. There's a contact box there. You can put a comment on the YouTube video. So there's lots of different ways to ask a question. Obviously, the best way is to be on the Patreon and be in the Discord. And Mr. Robot and all the other interviewers are picking up your questions there. So that's going to be the best way. Failing that, there are other ways that I mentioned. So thank you. I'm sure everybody will appreciate this. And I enjoy channeling Seth. And Seth is happy to be here. And he says, thank you for thinking of me and keeping my memory alive and my philosophy. And he's very appreciative of that. He is a bit of a joker, I will admit. But no, this has been another great video, Mr. Robot. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.